welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me, and we are going to talk about Nikola Jokic. We're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors, and we're going to talk about whatever Bryce wants to talk about. It's time for week 4 of the NBA takeaways. We're through about 1 month of the year, and Bryce and I are going to talk about it.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What is this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? 1 month into the season already, man. Time flies. I feel like it was yesterday I was begging for the regular season to start and us to get some of these games to analyze and talk about. And now I already find myself stressing about doing first quarter of the season NBA awards that we're going to have to do in just a few weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have probably 3 more weeks, I would guess, and that will be the Sunday show. Instead of takeaways, we'll do, quarter season mark NBA awards. And I'm excited. I think there's just a lot of really big standouts so far. And on top of it, look, like Kawhi has played half the games or whatever, but knock on wood, while we're here, we haven't gotten any like truly catastrophic injury yet, like that impacts the title race in like a crazy way, right? So I'm excited in that respect as much as anything that we're having like a really healthy season to this point, and all the stars are showing out. And you better believe that I am starting with the biggest star of them all whenever we get to takeaways.
Yeah, no, it's, when we think about those awards in some ways, and you would never wish this upon anybody, of course, but when guys miss games, it actually does make it a little bit easier because guys take themselves out in regards to that. Even like LeBron James essentially isn't going to really be part of this conversation through most of the year unless he plays almost every game the rest of the season. And so, you don't even have to include him in the conversation. I'm not saying that's a positive for LeBron James. It's just whenever guys haven't played the games, it makes those decisions and, parsing through it a little bit easier. But it is awesome that we have the individual performances that are going right now and the health of a lot of these players. When you look at what they're doing, it's not in just 3 games or 4 games. For a lot of these guys, we have truly gotten double-digit games so far.
It's absolutely true. Before we get there, let's talk about the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Bryce, today thing on Braden Smith. We will be talking about Braden Smith on the draft show that will come tomorrow. I love Braden Smith, one of my true favorites in this class. Just to watch, NBA we'll talk about, but like I adore watching that guy hoop. Bryce did the breakdown against Alabama where he had a matchup with LeBaron Philon and like pretty clearly got the better of LeBaron Philon, I thought. GameTheorySamV.substack.com. He did Michael Brown recently, today and tomorrow. I have Ade Mara of Michigan and also AJ Debinsa against Connecticut, which I thought was really, really fun and really enjoyable to break down as well. GameTheorySamV.substack.com. Bryce, any thoughts there?
No, I mean, I just think we're pumping out a lot of content, and I think people should already be getting the vibe of what we do over there in terms of it's not like we've only done Debinsa, Cam Boozer, and Darren Peterson. We've talked about other guys that are potential lottery picks. We've talked about a guy, like you said, in Braden Smith, who I have no idea what his draft range is right now, but he had a big time matchup. He plays for a really good college basketball team. But also, I've done a DeAndre Ayton breakdown. And so I think we're giving people the full range where, hey, if you're not into that, then you don't have to watch that one. But I feel like we're trying to, get something for everybody in the NBA, but, really specifically the NBA draft world.
I think that's right. GameTheorySamV.substack.com. Bryce, are you ready to do takeaways?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. It took me a little while to come up with my third, but I like what I ended up coming up with. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun as always.
Yeah. So here's my first takeaway. Nikola Jokic is kind of dominating basketball offensively at a level that I don't think I've ever seen before, or at least like in my lifetime. Like I'm sure that Wilt Chamberlain was dominating offensive basketball, when he was playing against like 6'9" dudes and was just like by far the most athletic player on the court at a level that was probably pretty similar to this. But in my lifetime of 35 years, offensively, I do not think I've ever seen anybody dominate the game like Nikola Jokic has. And I have some numbers, but I just want to get your opinion on Nikola Jokic through the first 12 games of the Nuggets season, where they are 10-2 and are, arguably, along with Oklahoma City, I would say those are the two best teams I've seen so far.
Yeah, I watched their game against the Wolves this morning because I knew this was going to be one of your takeaways. And obviously, I've watched them throughout the year, but I wanted to make sure I had some legit notes. I'll let you give all the stats and the numbers and rebounds and assists and all of that. I think my biggest takeaway and what I want to say before you wax poetically about it is he processes the game so fast. I'm not sure anybody gets the ball in and out of his hands faster than Jokic in every single situation he plays in. Because I was thinking about this. There's some guys that if you put them in a short roll, they know exactly what their reads are and the ball gets out of their hands fast. Or if you put them in transition, they get the ball out of their hands fast. Or if they're throwing an outlet pass, they get the ball out of their hands fast. Jokic does it in every single situation imaginable. It's transition, it's outlet pass, it's short roll, it's a post up, whether he's stationary or on the move. A game I watched earlier in the season against the Blazers, he's boxing out solely with his left hand because he wants to keep his right hand free, and he's already got his head turned up the court, knowing where he wants to throw the kick ahead pass. It's just unbelievable how quickly he sees things and how many chess moves ahead of the game he is than everybody else.
So all of that is true, and all of that is like the biggest reason, big picture, why I love watching Nikola Jokic, and I'm really glad you brought it up. I think that my two takeaways this year is he's gotten even more dominant as a scorer. In large part, I think because with like the rest, because they didn't have quite as deep of a playoff run last year, like he got the extra month off, basically. He feels like a little bit more athletic to me than what he was last year, which is crazy. Like there's a play against the Clippers where he just like sprints down the court. He's not the first guy down the court, but he runs down the court, catches and throws down like a borderline tomahawk, like on, in transition. Like it wasn't on anybody, but it was like, oh, okay. This is a little bit different than what we've seen. He just looks like he's moving a little bit better. And the numbers are obscene, Bryce. You know what Nikola Jokic is shooting on post-ups this year?
I was looking at like his hook numbers and just his numbers at the rim. So I'm guessing 78%.
He is shooting 34 for 45 on post-ups this year, which, I mean, I'll do the math real quick. That's 76% on post-ups. Like, you're doing okay if you're shooting 48. Like, you're doing pretty damn good if you're shooting 48 to 52% on post-ups. He's shooting 76% on post-ups, according to Synergy. That's bonkers. That is crazy. That's like, that like doesn't make sense. It does not compute to me. I didn't know that was possible in this big of a sample. He has a 79.1 true shooting percentage when he posts up, which are inherently contested shots because you're posting up another human being who is right there on you. He has a 76.9 after last night's game, true shooting percentage. So he's averaging like 1.54 points per shot right now. Last year, Jared Allen, led the league in points per shot. It was like 1.4, 1.45, something like that. He took half as many shots as what Nikola Jokic is taking this year. It doesn't make sense. And then you layer in the passing. And it's a 51.1 assist rate, which is the highest rate of his career to this point. And look, like we're 12 games in. It is what it is, right? Like it's a smaller sample. We're not going to sit here and go like completely crazy over the numbers. But what he has actually accomplished on the court this year, like just doesn't make sense to me. It is stuff that I actually was not sure is possible in the league. And on top of it, what I find so interesting is that the game is being played at a faster pace than ever before, right? Like teams are getting up and down, fighting in transition, getting, starting sets earlier, everything like that. In theory, you could wonder as to whether or not this would hinder Jokic in some way, shape, or form. On both ends, frankly. He's thriving in it. Like he's absolutely thriving in it because of everything that you said. His brain goes faster than everybody else's brain on the court. And he starts transition opportunities with those crazy hit ahead baseball passes, whatever he wants to throw, right? Oh, and by the way, they're fourth in defensive rating right now.
Yeah.
Like they are really good. And look, they have not played a ton of crazy good teams, right? Like let's just be honest about that. They have played Golden State. They have played Minnesota. And, obviously they lost that game on the road to the Blazers. That was kind of weird in the in-season. And they've beaten Minnesota twice and they lost in the opener to Golden State, right? Like they've played some teams that are pretty good. Minnesota's, solid right now, more so than like truly great. They're 8-5. They look like a team that's definitely going to be in the playoffs and should be really solid, right? But they have a few more issues maybe than what we thought coming into the year. They've also beaten Miami. Miami has looked quite good this year. But they have a win over the Pelicans. They have 2 wins over the Kings that are, pretty big, I feel like. And they've beaten the Clippers, right? Like they've had some games. And I think particularly they haven't played a lot of crazy offenses. But I think he looks good on defense. And again, that's where the athleticism, where he just looks like a little bit more well-rested this year, I think is coming into play for him. And he looks like he's a bit more mobile than what I've seen in the past. And again, it's 12 games. We'll see how that lasts over the course of the full season. I felt like last year, particularly around like January, it got a little bit tricky for him on defense. But man, they look great right now. They look absolutely fantastic right now. And I don't know, man, like if you want to make a case that what they're doing right now is more impressive than what Oklahoma City is doing, given the fact that their strength of schedule, I guess their strength of schedule is still only 28th, and I think Oklahoma City's might be 30th, 29th they are. So, like, look, I guess same strength of schedule, but I've been very impressed with Denver, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I have some numbers I'm going to say for later for my second takeaway, so I won't dive it because they have some interesting defensive metrics that I want to bring up whenever we talk about them. But him specifically, I had similar notes. I thought defensively, he's been engaged on the defensive rebound. He's the second leading defensive rebounder in the NBA behind only Wembanyama. He does have,
and for what it's worth, they're 5th as a team in defensive rebounding rate as well.
And I think, when we ever talk about guys like Dyson Daniels or a Cason, whoever, that their defensive disruption lead to transition offense, Jokic does it. And this is his way of doing it, is because he's such a good outlet passer and all of that. These defensive rebounds are making a real impact. I think he's very active with his hands. I've always talked about that. Ball screen defense coverages. He's going to get his hands in passing windows and all of that. Sometimes he wants to be lazy and not get his hand down there, so he just kicks it and puts his foot out. There are going to be possessions where he just lets his man drive by him. There's going to be some bad possessions. But ultimately, this isn't a Nuggets roster where you just look up and down the roster and like, there's a major plus defender. There's a major plus defender. There's a major plus defender. And they are, what did you say, 4th in defensive rating? And he plays the most minutes on this team. So somewhere along the lines, like it's not like they're just making up for him with all of these insanely talented perimeter defenders. So he has to be contributing in some way, even if it's not positive, it at least has to be neutral for them to be 4th. Well, again, I do have an interesting stat about that later in the episode.
Yeah, look, like I'm not going to sit here and say he's a better defender than Aaron Gordon or than like Christian Brown or something.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Or Peyton Watson, but yes.
I think he's been really good within their scheme so far this year. Like I have no complaints there. In this Denver team, by the way, like, look at the way that Tim Hardaway Jr. and he are like really starting to find synergy, right? Like Tim Hardaway Jr. relocating off the ball, like Jokic knows exactly where to look for him already. It feels like to me. And those two like end up finding open threes. It feels like 5 times a game right now. And then you can, I guess, look at the fact that Cam Johnson is not playing super well and wonder what's going on there. And I have questions about that as well. But like the Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic 2-man game looks pretty dominant. And then like you watch the Clippers game, Bryce. I mean, my God, like, did you watch that game from this week?
I did not. Like I say, I watched the Wolves game.
So he misses 3 of his first 4 shots in the Clippers game, right? And then he gets that dunk in transition that I mentioned earlier. Then he faces up Zubats, drives and scores. Then he faces up on him again and gets fouled. Then he gets Zubats on the block again, throws a little fake backspin into a spin for a lay-in. Then drills a mid-range jumper and gets an and one on it. Then cashes a 3. Then comes off of a curl and hits the kick out for an open 3. Misses the shot. They get the rebound. He reposts Brook Lopez, then faces up and drills a mid-range jumper over Brook Lopez. At this point, I just write in my notes, like, this is completely disgusting. LMAO. Like, then faces up, pump fakes. Lopez drills him in the face, and he gets to the line, and Brook Lopez is all puffy at this point and frustrated. And then Jokic PNR with or pick and roll with Christian Brown. He pops and drills a 3. That's all in the first quarter. That all happened in the first quarter. He had 23 points, and the Clippers had no answer whatsoever for how to stop him. And again, he started 1 for 4, and basically all that happened within the final 8 minutes of the quarter. It was the most dominant, laughably dominant stretch of basketball I've seen this year.
Just speaking on the Tim Hardaway Jr., I think those guys make a lot of sense because Hardaway Jr. loves to get out and transition and shoot those quick ones as well. So I think he's learned to just get out and run. And looking at his synergy numbers, he's shooting 58% on unguarded catch and shoot threes. He already has 24 of those this year. And I would guess a lot of those come off either Jokic actions or Jokic gravity of some type. Even if not, we know that Jokic is going to create those. Tim Hardaway Jr., this is why I like the fit. He is a guy that knocks down unguarded catch and shoot threes. And then another thing I want to talk about, Jokic's 3-point shooting. He's so big and he shoots it from so high. It's almost impossible to really contest him. His touch in the lane is unbelievable. And then really quick, back to his passing. I love, this, the listeners probably know this by now. I love eye manipulation, ball manipulation with passers. When they hold defenders with their eyes or move defenders with their eyes. And Jokic is so good at doing that, where he looks and moves the defender to a spot so then he can make the pass to the guy he wants to make the pass to.
And the other one that he does is he'll his hands and wrists are so strong that he'll hold the ball and make it look like he's going for a kick out. And then his wrists are so strong that he can just flip his wrists and then flip the ball and flip it right to the basket up to a cutter, right? Yeah. It's ludicrous. Watching him play basketball is completely ludicrous. I feel like he is genuinely breaking basketball offensively when I watch him, and it's a total cheat code. He's averaging 28.7, 13 rebounds, 10.8 assists, and he's shooting 67, 43, 88. He has a true shooting percentage right now that is 32% above league average, despite the fact that he's one of the 5 leading scorers in the NBA. It's completely bonkers. It does not compute in any way, shape, or form to my head. And look, I would be terrified to play this Denver team right now. They look fantastic. They have absolutely beaten some impressive teams this year when they've gotten the chance to.
Yeah, I mean, you just quick look. He's playing a couple minutes less. He's taking 3.5 less shots, but because he's so efficient, he doesn't need to take any more. But he's rebounding at the second best rate of his career. Mentioned the defensive boards, which I think that also plays into the Porter Jr., Cam Johnson. That was one thing that was talked about whenever Porter Jr. got traded away, was somebody was going to have to pick up a little bit of slack on the defensive boards. And then averaging the most assists of his career at almost 11 per game. And he's right under 2 steals per game as well. It's just, listen, I don't want to start making proclamations. We're going to have a 60-minute debate if things continue this way whenever we do our awards episode between him and Shea and Luka and Giannis. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And people are going to get mad one way or the other. But I don't even necessarily want to do it now. But he's just playing. I didn't think he could play at another level. And in some ways, I watch him play and I look at the numbers and I feel like somehow he did increase even 1% more than what he was already at last season, which just seems crazy.
Bryce, like, I don't really even think it's a conversation right now. Like, he is averaging 29, 13, and 11 with a true shooting percentage 35% above league average. Like, all due respect to Shea. Shea has been unbelievable. He has a true shooting percentage 12% above league average right now, and has been amazing and is clearly, I think, like 2 or 3 in the MVP race right now. It's like him or Giannis, right? Unbelievable. Like, Shea is unbelievably good at basketball. I don't really think it's like all that close in terms of who the best player is right now. He's that good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I came into the year saying that I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll see if, look, like maybe he gets tired throughout the year. Maybe Shea gets tired throughout the year because they played 100 games last year. Maybe, Giannis continues to step up. Maybe it's Luka, but like right now, I don't know, man. This is a different level to me. Shout out to the folks over at Mizzen Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They're going to look great, but they're hot, they're stiff, they're high maintenance, and that makes it actually hard to feel really comfortable. That's why I'm such a fan of Mizzen Main. Mizzen Main makes classic menswear with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel great. Mizzen Main, I've been buying it since before they were a sponsor. I just love the performance fabric. I think that it makes it so easy to look good, to feel good, especially for me while I'm out on the golf course where you do have to wear sometimes, more dressy clothes. Mizzen Main's shirts and pants look refined, but they're stretchy, lightweight, wrinkle resistant, and completely machine washable. So you don't have to iron them. You don't have to dry clean them. It's a timeless style you can invest in once and enjoy for years. That's why thousands of guys, including myself, swear by Mizzen Main when they want to look great without the hassle. Right now, Mizzen Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com, promo code GAME20. That's Mizzen, spelled Mizzen, and Main, MAIN.com, promo code GAME20 for 20% off. Mizzenandmain.com, promo code GAME20. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. Bryce, you are up with takeaway number 2.
I don't know if this is what people want to talk about week 4 of the NBA season, but I kind of find it interesting. And it hit me the other day as we watch people like Steph Curry still go crazy and Kevin Durant do his thing and all of these guys, like even the Giannis's and the Jokic's, but those guys are getting into their 30s and all of that. And eventually it's like, these guys are going to phase out. And what is the next wave of players? And I was just thinking about it the other day, like the NBA is in great hands for the future, Sam. I feel like the next crop of talent I am so excited for. And so I just went through and looked in terms of the top scorers in the NBA and their ages. And these guys are all 27 or younger right now. Luka, Shea, Maxey, Reeves, Cunningham, Edwards, Wembanyama, Denny Avdia, Franz, Şengün, LaMelo Ball. And then I was like, even rebounding and defense, you still have guys like Jalen Duren, Walker Kessler, Evan Mobley, Alex Sarr, Chet, perimeter defenders like the Thompson twins, Cason Wallace, Dyson Daniels, Ryan Rollins right now is making his push for, one of the better players. You've mentioned, like, is this a guy we're talking about as a top 100 player in the league next season? Yeah. Scotty Barnes, who we'll talk more about later with one of my other takeaways. Again, I don't know if this is where people want to talk about it. I just find myself going, I'm really excited about the young talent in this league on both ends of the court. And I didn't even mention everybody. I don't think I mentioned Paolo. I didn't mention Josh Giddey. I'm excited. Just, big picture. We're far enough in. I'm just looking at like who's playing well, who's doing great things right now. As we watch Maxey lead this Sixers teams, we watch Cade lead this Pistons team. And I just think there's Denny lead that Blazers team and jump into a spot of just like, I'm just excited. Yeah. I'm excited for the league. And I don't know if people are worried about as these other guys phase out, even this sophomore class. I assume we're doing that sometime soon. And we talked about Alex Sarr. I think Steph Castle is incredible. And I'm so excited about what him and Victor, with all due respect to De'Aaron Fox, I just find myself so excited about what that duo is going to look like for the next 10 years. And again, I'm just like, man, the NBA is in a good spot. You have stars, you have defenders, you have guys that are high-level creators, high-level rebounders. It just, the youth in the league, it hits all of the boxes. And I think it's in great hands along with a rookie class that was very excited about and a 2026 draft class that right now people are very excited about.
Well, and the crazy thing is that, look, like Tyrese Halliburton probably fits into this a little bit, right?
J-Dub hasn't played yet, so I didn't mention him.
Correct. Like Jason Tatum, obviously he's 27, but like,
so he would have made the list if he would have been playing. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 or 5 years left, like at the peak of what his power will be in all likelihood, assuming he comes back from the Achilles. So yeah, like look, there are a ton of really good young players, and we didn't even mention Jalen Johnson, right?
Yeah,
like
Jalen Johnson's been
incredible this year. Like he's been unbelievable, and we're going to talk about him later in the show for sure. Chet Holmgren and Evan Mobley, like, are two guys that I think are very strongly in all NBA conversations because of what they do on the defensive end as well as what they do on the offensive end. Look, people can have all of their consternation about the face of the league conversations and whatever. Do you know what like naturally happens when there's a void? Like somebody comes in and grabs it. It's kind of the reality. And this year it feels like Luka, is one of the guys that is like truly grabbing it right now. Like that guy, he's averaging 34 points a game, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, has been incredible this season. Obviously Jokic has been amazing, is what it is. Like we've talked about him already. Shea is still only 27. He's averaging 33. Maxey, like you said, 25 years old, playing 1 billion minutes a night and averaging 32 somehow still with like reasonable efficiency is the crazy thing. Anthony Edwards is averaging 27. Cade Cunningham's averaging 28 almost. Reeves is averaging 28 almost. Like Denny is the crazy one. Like we talked a lot about the Denny breakout that occurred late last year. The Denny breakout that occurred in the last 20 games last year was like he was averaging 29 and 5. I think it was. And through the first 12 games this year, he's at 26, 7 and 5, shooting 49, 38, 85. Like he's taken yet another leap forward to where he's like very seriously an all-star consideration this year.
Oh yeah.
And that's even with like the international thing that's going on where it's like, okay, you've got Luka, Giannis, Shea, you've got Markkanen averaging like 30. You've got Jokic, obviously, that's 5. You've got Wemby, that's 6. And really there's going to be like 2 spots for like Denny, Wagner, Şengün, like all of these dudes that are incredible that have been just awesome to start the year. So like, I don't even know how we're going to get all of the international guys in that deserve to be in this year. It's just crazy. Like watching how good the league is right now and how strong the league is right now. There's just such a ridiculous depth of talent that it's absurd. And again, this is why like I'm completely in favor of expansion. Like we have so many guys who are ready to just break out and, have their own teams if given the opportunity. Denny is the prime example of that, but Jalen Johnson, is maybe the perfect example of that within this season already. I don't want to spend too much time on Jalen right now because he's my third takeaway today, but like the way that he has stepped up in the Trae Young absence and like completely become the guy on that roster has been amazing. So yeah, no, like Devin Booker is back to being like Devin Booker fully right now. Like, Cade, we talk about Cade so often and, what he's done to lead that Pistons team to an 11-2 mark so far is just completely insane.
That's disrespectful to Dennis Jenkins. Dennis Jenkins is holding down the fort the last 10 days, Sam.
I do hope that we have time to talk about Dennis Jenkins at some point, because we were the preeminent Dennis Jenkins as an NBA player podcast this summer, and seeing it eventuate is very fun.
So we're recording the Pistons Pulse after this, and I think we end up doing a whole just 20 minutes on Dennis Jenkins. A lot of that was the offensive aspect of things. I think when I got down this track, it was also the defensive end of the floor. So when even just looking at our list of defenders, it wasn't in this order, but Victor, Amin Thompson, Evan Mobley, Chet, Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones, Tumani Kamara, Asar Thompson, Jaden McDaniels, J-Dub.
I will like the guy that I've been critical of in the past defensively, like a little bit. Like I don't love his on-ball defense a lot of the time, but I think Scotty Barnes has been an all-defense guy this year. Scotty has been incredible on defense.
Again, I'm trying to save my Raptors stuff for later, but it's in my notes. Like he's in the conversation right now. Andrew Nimhard, like it's just all of the, so it's not just offensive talent, right? Like that's where we always give our attention is, Luka's getting buckets and Shea's getting buckets and Cade's getting buckets. But what excites me is, again, you even have the rebounders like the Jalen Durans and the Walker Kesslers and those type of guys. But then you also, and Şengün, like we barely talked about Şengün during all of this, but it's also the defensive end of the floor. Steph Castle, I just didn't even mention him there with the defensive stuff. I find myself very excited as someone who prays that I get the opportunity to continue to do this for another 10 years. And so you always have this little bit of what's the league look like in 10 years? Who's the face of the league? Who are the best defenders? Who are the best this and that and the other? I am so excited to track this talent, not to mention the talent that's going to continue to come in after it.
Yeah. No, I mean, the league is completely ridiculous right now. It's absurd. I love it so much. And look, like it's the, the growing of the game, quote unquote, internationally, the internationalization, the globalization of the game on some level. Because like, look, you look at college basketball right now, and I would argue that like this college basketball season's been really elevated by the inclusion of a lot of the European guys. Like look at Illinois. They're like incredibly fun, right? So you just look at the way that the globalization of the game has elevated the play worldwide and really elevated it in the NBA, because that's where all the money is for these guys to come and play. It's massive. Like it is such a massive development, I think, for basketball as a whole. And, you can just see that in who the best players in the world are right now. It's Nikola Jokic from Serbia. It's Shea from Canada. It's Wemby from France. It's Luka from Slovenia. It's,
Greece.
Giannis from Greece, right? Like you can go up and down the list. And I would say that like the top 5 guys in the league right now, other than maybe the next guy I'm going to talk about, are all international players.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think it leans into, I had mentioned the Billy Donovan comment after the Bulls lost to the Pistons that were super, super shorthanded. And I think what it plays into is a better product night in and night out, because the games are going to be more competitive. Because listen, the Bulls had no business losing that game. That's not the point of what I'm going to say is, but what Billy Donovan said is the gap in this league isn't as wide as what people think. And it's not so much that my team, he was talking to his team, can just walk on the floor and be a shorthanded Pistons team just because it's a shorthanded Pistons team. Dennis Jenkins is really good at basketball. B-ball Paul Reed is really good at basketball. And while he's not Jalen Duran or Isaiah Stewart, on a given night, if the other team doesn't walk out and play competitive and with energy, he will give you 24 and 12 and whatever else he gave the Bulls that night. And as consumers of the game, we should love this, because it should raise the level of competition night in and night out, and the standard that a player and a team has to play with night in and night out, even when a star or 2 stars or 3 starters aren't there.
Okay, so while we just waxed poetically about the youngins coming up, right?
I'm always game to talk about the guy we want to talk about now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the guy that really took over the weekend and last week. My takeaway number 2 is I am still buying the Golden State Warriors like I was in the preseason, and the 2 wins over San Antonio this past week showed why. showed exactly why to me. The Golden State Warriors so far this season, and we're going to talk a lot about Steph, so you better be ready. But there is one team in the league right now with 4 wins over top 10 point differential teams, according to Cleaning the Glass. That is the Golden State Warriors. They lost, by 1 billion to the Thunder and the Nuggets, so their point differential is kind of funky in those games, but like they are 4-2 in those games, and they have looked awesome. I think there is a real case that they have the most impressive wins resume. Like, look, they've lost bad games, so we can't sit here and say they have the best overall resume so far, because they've had games where they've sat guys. They've even had games where they've lost that they shouldn't have lost when everybody played, right? But, you look at the wins. They've beaten the Lakers on the road. They've beaten Denver. They've beaten Phoenix. They've beaten San Antonio twice on the road so far. Oklahoma City has beaten Houston, the Lakers, and Golden State all at home. Like, Detroit doesn't really have that level of wins, right?
No.
Like, you can, the Lakers are a team that does have 3 wins against, top 10 differential teams. I think the Lakers have actually been pretty solid this year. But in terms of who are your best wins this year, I think that Golden State has the best wins this year of any team in the league. They are just awesome. I think that the Warriors have been incredible to this point when they've been fully healthy and they've had their guys in the lineup. And I see no reason not to continue to buy into this team at this point. Like, they might burn out. Their age might get them at some point. But a big reason why I'm just completely all in on this is that they have 3 basketball geniuses working together with Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. And we can say that Draymond has fallen off a little bit offensively. I will hear that out to some level, but it doesn't matter when his synergy with Stephen Curry is so unbelievably dominant that the 2-man game between those two is about as good as any other in the NBA outside of maybe Jokic and Murray. Watching those two play basketball together is like poetry to me. And Steph, in these 2 games against San Antonio, 45 and 49 points, just like a masterclass. It was a masterclass in off-ball movement, in relocation, in finding different avenues to score, in ball screens, in using hesitation to score and drive, and taking advantage of your gravity to score. Like, the game on Friday night, I think, was probably the best NBA game of the season I've seen so far. If it's not, I'll hear out a couple of other games here and there, but that game against San Antonio on Friday night for in the NBA Cup was fantastic. Every single possession down the stretch mattered immensely. Golden State gets those 2 massive Gary Payton II threes, and I'm sure that San Antonio was just okay, we're giving him that shot. That's what that is what it is, yeah. Right? And, Pods drills one in between them. They go on a 9-0 run to get back in the game and take the lead. And, it's just that this Golden State team, doesn't say die, and they kind of know how to compete in these biggest moments and how to just kind of keep chopping wood at the end of the day and to keep going.
You know what the most overrated stat, and I shouldn't even say overrated. Maybe it's just the worst telling or the least representative stat that I've seen recently is Steph Curry averaging 3.7 assists per game. And I say that because of this. There's nobody that creates more looks and has more off the ball gravity with their pure off ball movement than Steph Curry. Listen, I'm not going to say he's a better generator of offense than Nikola Jokic. We already done that. We've hashed it out. We know that's not true. But if you look at these numbers and say, well, Curry doesn't generate looks for his teammates, he averages less than 4 assists per game. I call that a fallacy. This dude runs around and defenders and teams guard him like their life is over if he gets this catch off this screen or this relocation. And the thing is, he still gets them, because I think one of the most under talked about and underappreciated aspects of his game is his conditioning. I talked about this with Cade Cunningham recently, where the super inefficient game where he took 45 shots and all of that. And what I always told people was, or what I said about him after that game was, the conditioning it takes to get 45 shots in an NBA game is a real thing. And I'm not trying
especially on a back-to-back as well.
Especially on a back-to-back. And I'm not trying to turn this into a Cade thing. What my point is, the conditioning it takes Curry to run around, to run off this screen, to drive, and then make a pass, and then immediately nobody relocates inside out better than Steph Curry. Nobody does a drive, kick, relocate, catch and shoot three better than Steph Curry. He sets screens. Like, that's another thing he's gotten good at. Like, he'll set a screen to either get his teammate open, or then if the defense somehow messes it up, then he's getting it. Like, he expends so much energy. And to me, that is yet another pitch for why he's the greatest shooter we have all ever seen. It is the percentages. It is the makes. It's the big shots and the big moments. It's also the fact of the way he has to go about even getting his attempts, and then the balance and the body control he has when he gets into that shot.
Well, and like, look, like the Spurs tried, there were 3 or 4 different ways to guard him, right? Like, he comes back in at the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter and just like immediately gets away from Castle off of a down screen and like draws a foul, right? And then he hits like a disgusting inside out dribble onto Jeremy Sohan, who had switched onto him in transition, and just drills a 30-footer in his face. And then like they run this like little ghost action, and he drills like a mid-range jumper. And then he just beats Steph Castle off the bounce, which is a really hard thing to do, and gets to like this nasty little like hesitation crossover into like a scoop shot over Wemby. And then De'Aaron Fox is like guarding him at one point and then just gets back cut, right? I mean, it's just completely absurd. Like, what the way that he is always so mentally engaged, and he forces you to be mentally engaged at all times. It's not just like the conditioning that you're talking about. It's the mental focus that you have to maintain throughout every single moment of the game, because he's able to maintain it throughout every single moment of the game, that I think is so impressive. And yeah, I mean, it was just an unbelievable, like the Friday night game was just completely unbelievable. He gets Curry on like Curry gets De'Aaron Fox on like the up fake, like foul grift thing that was really impressive to go to the line. And look, like, I didn't love like Mitch Johnson's end of game management there. Like, I feel like you have to find Wemby a shot, but then like, I think the one that people complain about is, Golden State has a bunch of smalls on the court, right? Like, I think their biggest guy might have been Draymond at that moment in the game. And you could theoretically just like lob the ball up to Wemby and get him the ball in the middle of everything that's happening. But Golden State has like 3 or 4 guys like right there, condensely packed into the lane to try and make it so that Wemby can't get the ball in that moment. And Wemby kind of left early on the screen, I thought, too, and kind of didn't open up the pocket for De'Aaron to get him the ball even easier. So that's kind of what leads to De'Aaron having to take at least one of those really bad middies at the end. And, it's hard. It's really, really hard, I think, to try and figure out. Also, you have to remember too that like Wemby and De'Aaron are developing their chemistry. Like, they're going to figure this out in all likelihood. We'll see what this looks like at the end of the year for a bigger and better sample of what they are. But man, this was all just like Golden State, fight and scratch and claw and just finding different ways. And the other thing too, I will say, is like they are deeper this year than what they have been in the past. I think having like Al Horford out there in general in the 9 games that he's played, obviously, it is pretty good. Having like Will Richard be able to come in and play the minutes that he has played. Will Richard was awesome in this game. He hit like an awesome back cut in the first quarter, and then Wemby rotates and then he kicks it out. And then like he just immediately cuts again to get an open shot at the rim and just beats Wemby there. And then he drills 3 threes throughout the game, like just hits massive shot after massive shot. And he's tough on defense. Like, he has been so useful for them that it is like kind of stunning to me. Like, I did not see this at all with Will Richard coming in as like a rookie and being able to do this. Moses Moody this year is drilling 42% from 3 and averaging 12 a game, giving them tough defense. And look, like, people aren't going to be like super excited. I think certain people specifically might not be super excited about this when I say this, but like this is the game that Jonathan Kuminga did not play this year. And I don't know, man, like it felt cleaner. We gave him a lot of credit early in the season for the ball movement, the fact that he was playing kind of within the flow of the offense, seemingly a little bit better than what he has in the past. But I don't know. I feel like as the season has gone on, that hasn't quite happened as regularly as what we would like to see potentially. And it's not an accident to me that, he's played 360 minutes this year, averaged in the minutes that he has played, they lose by 3.9 per 100 possessions. And in the minutes that he has played, he has been on the bench this year for 317 minutes. They win those minutes by 5.6 per 100 possessions. Like it does just feel like this team looks better to me without him a lot of the time.
Yeah, it was a pretty small sample. I think it was worth bringing up and giving him credit for because I did feel like it looked like he had figured it out. And,
it's the defense too, though. Like he gets lost on defense.
I thought maybe he had gotten paid and, to some extent, I guess. I mean, that's real money there. And it was just like, hey, I'm going to play out this season or at least till the deadline playing this Warriors way or whatever. And it hasn't continued. It was a very small sample. And then now over still a smaller sample, but it looks more like what the bigger sample of previous years have looked like. And it's a great point with Will Richard. You brought up the 3-point shooting from Moses Moody. They do have contributions from guys off the bench. I think Al Horford's been a big one. I have one final thing I want to say about Curry, and then you can, keep going if you want. But I don't think anybody, for me, this is very much an individual thing, and people know he's one of my 2 favorite players of all time. Allen Iverson's my favorite player of all time, 1A, 1B. I don't know that anybody has ever made me laugh out loud when they do something as much as him, or make me look at my wife and stop her from reading her book or watching her Real Housewives or whatever and go, hey, babe, you have to see what Steph Curry just did. And I don't know what that means, but nobody has made me do it more than Steph Curry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with that. Like I cackle watching games in my office with him. Like I literally laugh. Like my wife was watching like a horror movie yesterday and heard me laughing in my office. And she like walked in and was like, why are you laughing? And I was like, Stephen Curry. And she gets it. Like she totally understands it because she's watched Stephen Curry and like understands how incredible this guy is at basketball. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah. That's all I've got on the Warriors. Like I really buy into this team. I love this basketball team still. For as much as we love the kids and we love this new generation, I do kind of hope that this team like stays competitive throughout the year and is pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I'm about it.
Okay, you're up with takeaway number 4.
Yeah. So speaking of, a team that maybe is contending or, where you think they are as a touch lower on them coming into the year, but, obviously with Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, I wanted to look at and talk a little bit about the teams that are quote contenders right now. And so without just going through every single team, we can't do that right now. I just did the top 10 teams, the teams that are top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating. And I just want to go through them one by one fairly quickly. I don't want to drag this super out, but do you think they're a contender? And if you do, then what do we think has been a surprise of their success so far this year? And what would a worry be? So we'll just start off with the team and we'll go from there. The Houston Rockets are top 10 in both offense and defense. They are number 1 in offense and they are number 9 in defense. Sam, do you think they are a contender? I do. And do you think and then what would be your surprise to their success this year? And what would be your long-term ceiling type worry for this team?
Yes, contender for sure. Like no doubt about that in my mind. Absolutely contender. They are super long and super tough on defense. They are really effective on offense. This is another team in Houston that I feel like hasn't played like a crazy wild schedule. Like they're 22 in strength of schedule to this point this year. I'm interested to see what this looks like. I mean, the craziest thing is that they are like third to last in pace and first in offense right now. So like they're doing it a lot with, kind of what
offensive
we've come
rebounding.
to expect. Exactly right. Like absolutely obliterating the offensive glass. They are taking the fewest threes per field goal attempt of any team in the NBA right now. And they're just like living at the free throw line. Kevin Durant is just continuing to be, the most polished scorer in NBA history to me in terms of like footwork, getting to mid-range shots, whatever you want to call it, right? Just his overall efficiency and ability to get to his places on the court. I've loved Amen Thompson this year. He's averaging 18. He has taken a step forward on offense. 18, 6 and 6 is really, really high level. We talked about Reed on the last episode. Reed taking a big step forward and being able to knock down shots 48% of the time on 6 3-point attempts per game has been massive for them. He's averaging 12 a game. Look, like even Jabari Smith, I think has been really excellent this year. He's been like the kind of, complimentary starter that we all anticipated him being. I do still wonder about offensive execution for them in half court settings in the big moments against like the best teams, right? Like if you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? The Thunder are second in defensive rebounding rate, so they might be able to like cut down on the offensive rebounding that has made Houston so incredibly high level. And then they're going to be able to like really guard you on the ball and make life difficult. But again, this is a team in a game that went to double overtime in the opener, right? So these two teams seem very tightly matched to me right now. And then Denver is the other one, right? Like Denver, we said top 5 in defensive rebounding rate right now this season. They have Jokic. Obviously, I'm sure Houston feels like they have multiple bodies that they can throw at Jokic to make his life slightly more difficult. But I would say that offensive execution in half court settings in the biggest moments where you aren't able to rely on just like obliterating the offensive glass is probably what my like ceiling inhibitor for them would be, unless Reed continues to like take another step forward throughout the course of the year, which I think is like very possible. Amen could also take another step forward throughout the course of the year. I think that's like entirely possible.
That would also be my worry. My surprise is the offensive efficiency, the offensive rating. They're 30th in 3-point attempts, but they're number 1 in percentage. They're second in 2-point attempts, but 20th in percentage. You mentioned the free throw attempts, and they're also number 1 in defensive free throw to field goal attempts. So it will be interesting. And then obviously the offensive rebounding. Okay, team number 2 is the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are not only second in offensive rating, they're also second in defensive rating. This is from NBA.com. So I know sometimes those are a little bit different. And this is before the games on Sunday. So my question to you is, I think I know the answer. Are they real contenders? My answer is yes. What is their surprise to their success this year? And what would a worry be? Real quick for me, Sam, surprise to success. I think Aaron Gordon is huge for this team. I don't think it's a surprise what Aaron Gordon is doing, but his 3-point shooting allows you to play some of these other guys who maybe aren't super high volume or great 3-point shooters. I just think his two-way play, again, I don't think this is a surprise, but I think he's a huge key to their success, along with some of the bench play of Tim Hardaway Jr., Valanciunas. My worry for them is the defense holding, because right now they are 30th in the NBA in opponent 3-point percentage, while also contesting at one of the lowest rates in the NBA on 3-point attempts. I'm not sure that holds for very long, but we'll see.
And they also don't really force turnovers on defense either. Like that's a whole other part of it. They play quite conservatively on defense, which is like fine, honestly. Like they've won doing this so far. But yeah, I think that Aaron Gordon has been the key. He allows them to get more athletic on defense if he's going to knock down shots at a high level. And he's not the guy that teams can sag off of. Like you then can put Peyton Watson and Bruce Brown on the court more consistently and allow them to be out there and make an impact. Like they've played like some Spencer Jones even from time to time. And that's generally been okay. The key for them is like they have to find a way to get Cam Johnson off the ground.
Correct.
the fact that Cam Johnson is averaging 7 points and shooting 21% from three and still hasn't like found his role in this offense, pretty wild, first and foremost, like genuinely pretty crazy to me, but also like gives them some real ceiling, I think, too, based off of the fact that they are already 10-2. They have beaten three really good teams, and Cam Johnson hasn't really gotten going yet. Like maybe you could say that Aaron Gordon is not going to shoot 47% from three all season on 5 attempts per game. I would agree with you. I think at some point that's going to come back down to earth. But I think it's going to come back down to earth at a level to where he's still like a pretty decent shooter. It's, you know, he'll go through a stretch where he's probably like a 32 to 35% 3-point shooter, but it'll bring it down to like 40 from three. And then he'll find his medium probably somewhere around like 38 to 40 from three right now. It feels like he looks very confident when he's shooting from three. Christian Brown getting healthy again will be critical. How he comes back from that injury, I think. Yeah, look, this is a very complete team to me. I think that they're genuine contenders. They look awesome.
Yep. All right. The next team is, of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are fifth in offense, and they're number one in defensive rating by almost 7, which is unbelievable. Obviously, we both think they're real contenders. I will feel confident in putting those words in your mouth that the Thunder are real contenders. My surprise to success is just like what they're getting, how dominant they are without J-Dub, and only how many games from Chet have we got? We've gotten 10. So he's missed 4 games. Isaiah Joe's only played 9. Wiggins has only played 9. Dort's only played 8. Like how dominant they have been, even without being healthy. I don't know what my worry is, Sam. I'm not sure what my biggest concern is. I would have to. Really,
to me, it's like very clear
percentage, through the playoffs, but they already won it without shooting threes last year. Health, like if they don't get these guys healthy.
Yeah, like to me, it's like they need another ball handler. They need J-Dub to get back. Like the fact that they are 13-1 right now without J-Dub is completely crazy. They are as dominant a team as we have seen in a while, in my opinion. They have a 15 net rating right now. And again, I do want to point out, they have had the second easiest schedule in the NBA to this point. It is something that is worth noting. But when you watch this team, it feels like they're completely dominant. They're getting 45 points a game right now from Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and AJ Mitchell. They're getting 45 a game from those three guys right now. That's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. The thing that really helps those guys, by the way, that I think goes really underrated is Hartenstein is such a monster screener.
Yeah.
Like he just creates so much open space for all of their role players that are like creating off the bounce and ball screens, particularly AJ Mitchell. I notice a decent amount. Like the fact that he just gets these guys loose is so useful for this. And then they play with space, right? Like the two great ways to help develop young guys in the NBA is to get them space by either playing with 5 shooters or 4 shooters plus a great screener on the court, and with great screening as well. And they do both these things exceptionally well. It's why they're sitting here at 5th in offensive rating, despite the fact that they don't really take, they don't really make a ton of threes right now. They're 21st in 3-point attempt or 3-point percentage right now, 12th in 3-point attempt percentage. They don't turn the ball over. Like they're very careful with the ball. And I will say, like, despite the fact that they have Hartenstein, right? Like I want to remove Hartenstein kind of from this equation because he is one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. They aren't one of the teams that is like aggressively crashing the glass at like a crazy, crazy rate. And it feels like to me that their transition defense holds because of it. They have a scheme that is a little bit different than what everybody else is doing league wide right now. And it's working immensely well because they just trust in their defense to completely shut you down. And they know they can win games like that. And again, they're going to get J-Dub back. And J-Dub is like an all defense caliber guy that is only going to add to that and is going to give them their secondary ball handler. Like, yeah, this team is obviously a contender. This team is, to me, probably the contender in the NBA.
So a couple more teams that fit this criteria. I think this one is going to shock you. It shocked me. The Boston Celtics are 8th in offensive rating and 7th in defensive rating for a positive 4.9 net and a 6-7 record. Sam Vecenie, are the Boston Celtics contenders to you?
So here's what's going on there. They beat the Memphis Grizzlies by 37, like a team that was just like a total mess on Wednesday. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans by 32. They did beat the Cavs by 20 earlier this year. I do want to note that. And that was a Cavs team with Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Jared Allen, like all three of those guys. And then they beat the Washington Wizards by 30 earlier this year as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of what's lifting their net rating and their offensive efficiency right now is what happens when they play those really, really bad teams.
Yeah.
If you look at them when they have played decent teams, look, I don't want to sit here and say they've been bad by any stretch because they haven't necessarily been bad against good teams. But, you look at their record right now, they are 0-3 against teams that have a top 10 point differential in the league. Because Cleveland, I think, is just like right outside that right now.
Yep.
They're 0-3 in those games. They have a 105 offensive rating in those 3 games against like the top 10 teams so far in the NBA. So, yeah, I mean, look, the answer here is no, they're not a contender. But I will give them credit that they are 6-7 right now. They have generally been pretty fun to watch because they really know how to play. They get threes up. They do a fairly good job, I feel like, of trying to slow down 3-pointers from other teams, or at least getting contests out there. I think that they do a generally good job, but they can't defensive rebound. They generally, it feels like, struggle to create secondary shots against good teams whenever it's not Jaylen Brown creating. And it's just it's going to be a challenge for them, I think, unless Jason Tatum comes back and is like totally healthy in March.
4th in 3-point attempt rate, 1st in turnover percentage. So they're getting shots up, and the 3-point percentage obviously isn't great. Last team here.
For what it's worth, I do think they will be a top 10 offense this year. I just think that scheme and what they run and how they run it in space, like, I do buy that. Like, I think they will be a top 10 offense.
And
they've been able to stop anybody when they played a good team.
Derek White is shooting 29% from 3, and Peyton Pritchard shooting 28% from 3. And those are their 2 highest volume 3-point shooters. Even Sam Hauser is down at 34%, which isn't like laughable, but for Sam Hauser, you know what I mean? Like, those are 3 of their 4 top 3-point shooters, and none of them are shooting quite to the level you would expect, especially Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. And they're still top 10. Okay, last team that meets both criteria, San Antonio Spurs are 10th in offensive rating, and they are 6th in defensive rating. This is the funnest one. Are they contenders right now? What has been the biggest surprise to their success? For me, that's how good Steph Castle has been so far this year. What is your worry? My worry is, and why I wouldn't quite put them in contender status yet is, listen, they're going to make a run into the playoffs, and they're going to be good. I've already been wrong about them. I took the under. I'll, hold that the way you hold the Alex Starr sophomore year rankings. I was way off on that. But what I do believe is you make the playoffs and you get your heart broke at least 1 year. And so I think it will take this, to me, will be the Spurs experience playoff. And then next year, we're going to be talking about them as contenders through the offseason. That doesn't mean they may not win a playoff series, Sam. Like, if you tell me they win a series, they make a run to the Western Conference Finals, like, I think that could all be in the cards. But in terms of and maybe in that way they are contenders, I guess just for me, I don't think a team makes a run all the way to win the NBA Finals the first year they make it there.
Can I flip this real quick for you?
Yeah.
If I told you the Spurs are in the East, would that change the conversation for you?
Yes.
Would they be your number 1 team in the East?
They might be.
I think they would be my number 1 team in the East.
So that just completely goes against what I said, right?
But it's hard because they're at least 4th in the West. And honestly, I do think I would take Golden State over them in a playoff series because I just kind of trust that Steph is going to figure it out.
Okay, so here's my question then. Does this mean we think they're contenders? Like I don't in the West, I don't see them making the NBA finals. But if you tell me they beat the Warriors and then push the Thunder, I think that's a real outcome for them. So does that mean they're contenders? If I don't actually think that they can make it, like I wouldn't bet on them making it all the way, even if I think they could be competitive through a couple playoff series.
So here's what I would say. I am not ruling out them being contenders this year. Right now, I would say that I think they are just one level behind the top teams in the West. And it's only because those top teams in the West are so good, particularly Oklahoma City, Houston, and Denver. I think that I would say they are one level behind those teams, but they would also probably be one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the league to me right now. Maybe 6 or 7 best teams in the league is the better way to put it. They look awesome. Like I am a huge fan of everything that I've seen from the San Antonio team. And if you put them in the East, I think they would be my top pick. Also, I want to see how the De'Aaron Fox relationship with Wemby in ball screens continues to grow. I want to see how they make the Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle kind of on ball trio work together, right? Like that will be really interesting and intriguing. You can never have enough playmakers on some level. So like it's a good problem to have for sure.
Hold on.
Does having all 3 of those guys elevate them into that contender status? I would hear that case out too, to be honest with you.
We say that phrase all the time. And I agree with you. And I agree with people when they say it. My counter to you can't have too many ball handlers is you can have too many non-off the ball players though. If those guys can't play off the ball of each other, that is the issue. So like that's where people will.
But here's what I would say though, Bryce. We have seen already all of those guys play with one other of those players on the court, right?
Yep.
I agree with you, like generally that we will see if all 3 of them can play on the court together because we just haven't seen that yet. But you might not have to get that many minutes with all 3 of them on the court together is kind of the thing.
No, I agree. And that wasn't an indictment of the Spurs because I actually think Steph Castle can be a really good off the ball mover, cutter. You can use him as a short roll guy. Shout out Charles Lee for the way he's using Knipple in Charlotte, by the way. And then, side note there that I wanted to sneak in because I think it's been really fun. But, and if Dylan Harper can knock down shots, I think De'Aaron has done a nice job just kind of slowly trying to incorporate himself and all that. I'm not saying San Antonio won't figure it out. I was just saying in general, I think people will too loosely say you can't have enough ball handlers on the court while missing at least whenever I talk about it, the point is not having guys that can handle the ball. It's can you have guys that are willing to go play off the ball? I would love to have a guy that handles the ball with Trae Young, but will Trae Young go play off the ball? I would love to have a guy that handles the ball with Ja Morant. Will Ja go play off the ball? So I'm not saying any of those guys are, any of the Spurs guys are those guys. I just like to add that nuance when we say that about on-ball guys or ball handlers.
Well, are they as effective off the ball is the big question.
Do they maximize each other? Because right now we're talking about winning at the highest level.
Yeah. The other big thing for all of these teams, but particularly this team, is they have the wherewithal to go make a big swing if they want to on the trade market.
This is a great point. Yeah.
That would change everything for them if they wanted to. Like if they wanted to go get Lauri Markkanen for, Harrison Barnes, Sohan, and 5 first-round picks or whatever it would cost, right? Like they can do that. Not a lot of teams can do that now in the same way that the Spurs can, especially in this contender class. Oklahoma City, notwithstanding, obviously, because they can go do whatever they want because they have 1 million picks, including the Clippers pick this year, which is clearly turning into a big thing, big asset league-wide that I've had quite a few conversations with teams about. Very worried right now about what happens with that Clippers pick.
And so all I've been thinking about recently is Ivica Zubac and the 2 teams that currently own Los Angeles Clippers picks and how I can get him to either of those two teams.
Well, I mean, this is the funny thing, Bryce. So, and look, this is so far off into the future. If that Clippers pick ends up at like third or fourth overall, let's call it, right? If you're the Clippers and you're Oklahoma City and you're losing Hartenstein, probably in the summer because he'll get paid too much to do it. Zubac has 2 cheap years left on his deal. Is there like a way that the Clippers could trade Zubac to get that pick back and get a star? And if you're Oklahoma City, you go, well, like we have no other way of getting like an incredibly cheap, unbelievable screen setter, big man who fits perfectly within our scheme than what Zubac is. Like, is that something that we do in order to like keep cost control on some level? And then we keep our other 3 picks that we have, right? I don't know. Like that's something that's already in my head, like of if this goes really poorly for the Clippers, which I don't think it's going to go to where they're like a top 4 pick in the league. Like I think they're going to they might not make the playoffs, but like that 10th spot race in the West is kind of hideous right now. And I would be surprised if they aren't in the play-in still.
That was my 4th takeaway that I'm like, I could probably save that for next week since I found a better one.
Yeah. Like if you look at the race right now for 10th, the Utah Jazz are currently in 10th in the West with the LA Clippers like tied. So currently the Clippers are in the play-in game somehow. Grizzlies are 12th at 4-10. The Kings are 3-10. The Mavs are 3-10. The Pelicans are 2-10. I think we can probably rule out the bottom 3 teams. I still like have some vague hopes on the Grizzlies. Maybe when I thought they looked way better when Edey was in the game against Cleveland over the weekend, but yeah, we shall see. Okay. My 3rd takeaway here. Are we sure the Atlanta Hawks need Trae Young? And this is not like a rhetorical question. Like this is a conversation I actually want to have because I think the answer is they probably do still want Trae Young at the end of the day. And a lot of their success with Trae Young having been out of the lineup recently is schedule related on some level too. They currently sit at 8-5 right now. If you look at the games that they have played, they have won 5 of their last 6 games. Win over Orlando, a win over the Lakers, and then Clippers, Kings, Jazz. They play tonight against Phoenix after we record this. I'm really interested in that Phoenix game because Phoenix is playing well, like we talked about last week. But I will say this. I really enjoy watching this team play, and I think that they get better ball movement and they look a little bit more dangerous in transition, actually, kind of without Trae Young than what they have with Trae Young. You have Onyeka like hitting threes now at a really high level. Jalen Johnson is just leading the break every time down the court and is an absolute freight train of downhill energy, intensity, aggression. Every single game, he's a threat to get a triple-double, it feels like to me. Then you look at the guys like Rissa Shea and Dyson Daniels, like they aren't even really having great offensive seasons to this point. I think that they can give more than what they have already. Shout out to Vic Krejci, 55, 51, 70 so far this year. Just absolutely drilling shots as like a 6'8", kind of pseudo, I don't know if you want to call him a point guard, but like can play some on-ball reps here and there. They just are absolutely enormous. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has done generally, I think, like a pretty good job of stepping into Trae Young's stead, despite the fact that his percentages are down a little bit. And they just are really hard to deal with. Like they are exceptionally fast. I think their execution is better in terms of like running half court sets right now. Part of this is that like the teams they played just aren't offering a whole lot of resistance. But man, just watching those games last week, it's impressive. Like they have the second best defensive rating in the league since Trae Young got hurt. 106.9 defensive rating entering Friday night, that was. They are top 10 in fast break points against in that time. They are 5th in opponents points per game in the paint during that time. Teams just don't get a lot of paint touches against them because they just stop teams from getting to the paint, it feels like. They are 4th in points off of turnovers, 3rd in fast break points themselves, 7th in points in the paint. They switch a ton on defense and just make life really, really hard for you to be able to get into the paint. Jalen Johnson, like I mentioned, like just a downhill driver. There's a total like stud. Everything in the Utah game particularly just looked way too easy for him. He was able to get wherever he wanted in that game. It was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it was, they look really impressive. They and like we didn't mention Mo Gay yet, like off the bench. He's given them pretty good minutes. Kristaps is still here. Like he's been, kind of in and out of the lineup a little bit. Like he's played 9 of their games and hasn't shot it well from 3 yet, but he still gets guarded out there. So he gives them the spacing. Like this team is dangerous without Trae Young, and Trae Young is a free agent this summer. And if they decided that they want to go with like this bigger, longer group, Trae Young immediately becomes like one of the top trade targets on the market. And I'm fascinated what that would look like. So I ask you this question, Bryce, and it's a genuine question because I think some of their half court execution has been hit or miss. Like when they're running sets, it looks great. When teams are able to shut off the primary action, like they don't have a guy who can really get them like a true bailout shot late in shot clocks, it feels like to me. That's what Trae Young would certainly provide. But this is a genuine question. Like if you were the Atlanta Hawks, would you be looking at rolling with this, what you have right now? Or would you be looking at bringing Trae Young back into the fold and continuing to play that way?
I still want to see what it looks like with Trae because I think this roster is built for him to be successful if he's going to be successful. To answer your question, I don't think this roster in and of itself is enough. But do I think there's a world where you can be successful with this roster without Trae Young? I do, but that's not, you can't not replace him in some capacity. And it's not in the aggregate with these guys. You won't find a bigger Nickeil Alexander-Walker fan. I love Jalen Johnson. I've been pitching those guys for months now. But I watched that Jazz game and I actually thought looked a little overtasked in how much he was having to do off the bounce and creating and making reads. Jalen looks incredible in transition. And, this does allow them to push pace a little bit more. Okongwu has had a couple big games back to back. And I'm not saying all of these are because Trae Young isn't in the lineup, but I think what we've seen is this roster is very talented. My answer would be I want to see it with Trae. If it doesn't work, I would feel comfortable moving on from Trae if you gave me the plan of how we're going to acquire a table-setting point guard, a guy that can do the things we are talking about them being limited in. Doesn't have to be their best player, doesn't have to be a super high usage guy. Jalen can take usage. Can take usage. You want to see Risa Shea take more usage throughout his young career. But I need a guy on the roster that is going to set the table, that's going to get us into actions, that's going to break down the defense for us, and is also going to be better on the defensive end, right? Because if you're going to move on from Trae Young, then let's lean into being one of the 5 best, 10 best defenses in the NBA.
That's what's happened in this run is they've just been really, really good on defense. The real answer here to this question, and look, to me, it's still an open question. Like it's not something that I'm really making a case for one way or another right now. The real answer here is, and the reason that I did this for this week personally, is we're going to find out the answer like this week and next week in all likelihood. They have Phoenix tonight. They have Detroit on Tuesday. They have San Antonio on Thursday. Then they get the Pelicans, Hornets, Wizards. But then they get the Cavs, 76ers, Pistons again, right? So like those 6 games, Suns, Pistons, Spurs, Cavs, Sixers, Pistons. Those are the ones that I'm most looking forward to watching to find out, okay, so they've beaten the brakes off these really bad teams, right? Like they've just absolutely destroyed them. Let's see what they look like against really good teams with this setup. Can they consistently, like Detroit particularly, will make them really work on the defensive end.
Yep.
Like Detroit is going to make them create shots in half court settings. What does that look like? Like that is where where I am most interested in Atlanta right now, but I have loved watching them without Trae Young. And that's not a shot at Trae. It's just that they have built this really, really fun team that is kind of massive, with Nikhil at 6'5", Dyson at 6'7", Brissa Shea at 6'9", Jalen Johnson at 6'9", being able to, and like they have all these big ball handlers, Alexander Walker, Jalen Johnson, Trae can do some of it. Like Kennard is probably their smallest player that they play, and Luke Kennard is listed, I would guess, 6'5". So like, there's just a lot of guys that they have out there that can play, and that you can get enough ball handling from, and you get enough shooting from. Is it enough though? Like, is it enough to contend at the highest levels? Or the better question for them now next summer is it enough to build this roster out? Hope that you get lucky with this New Orleans lottery pick that looks incredible right now, and then be able to kind of see where it goes from there.
Yep. No, I agree. I think that they got to see what it looks like. And like you said, we're going to get a great look at it here, over the next couple of weeks.
The last thing I do want to do here is just talk about Jalen Johnson in the time since Trae Young has been out. Jalen Johnson in that time, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 7.4 assists, 2 steals, shooting 58, 44, 77. I would have Jalen Johnson as an all-star right now for sure. He has been outstanding this season, just absolutely outstanding across the board. And looks like looks like the guy that they were hoping for when they took the upside swing, drafting him back in 2021 after, the crazy season at Duke where he ended up kind of leaving the team and all that stuff. Like, I am genuinely so excited to watch how Jalen Johnson's career has continued to just get better and better and better and better every step of the way.
He's awesome. Like, just such a versatile player. He's so athletic. I want to track his defense a little bit more this year and see where that ends up. I think for me, sometimes I make an error with guys that look like him physically, just assuming he's making a real impact, right? Because he's super athletic and strong. And, the game against Utah, listen, Utah's awesome off the ball movement wise. He got backdoored a ton in that game. But I love everything else he does, the aggressiveness, the full range of transition, isolation, off the ball, short rolls. When he's making threes, he's about impossible to guard.
And then the last guy I want to bring up here is Onyeka. We kind of briefly touched on it before, but 15 points, 8 rebounds in 28 minutes a night, shooting 51, 40, 74, and he's shooting that 40% on 4 3-point attempts per game.
Real volume.
Like, has really, really come into his own this year, in my opinion, and looks like the guy. I think I had him 4th or 5th in that class, if memory serves. Like, I really liked Onyeka coming out because I thought he could be like a very serious defender. I think he's been pretty good in switch situations. He's held up enough at the rim despite being 6'8" let's go with, in terms of height. And I've really loved like the improvement level of stepping out to the 3-point line and kind of becoming like the John Collins-y type that, they need while being better on defense, like being able to like really play center on defense while also stepping out and being able to knock down shots and being able to roll and catch lobs and being able to catch and get to that little floater he has. Like the whole package of like low usage offensive play from Okongwu and like play finishing this year has been really, really high level.
Yeah, I've had to change my tune a little bit. I wasn't doing draft stuff when he came in, but early on in his NBA career, when I was following, I would talk to Hawks media people and be like, I don't really see it. Like, I feel like there's always this great excitement about him. And over the last year and into this year, I've started to get it and get a feel for it and really appreciate it. I'm still not sure whether I would like, hey, I'm going to pencil him as one of my starters. But man, like he's absolutely part of like a really good like 3-man rotation between the 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah. Okay. You're up with your final takeaway.
Yeah. I just want to talk about the Toronto Raptors a little bit. There's part of them that I absolutely love and I'm really excited about. And then there's part of them that I do not understand. And that's kind of who this team is in general. People yell at us because we've been critical of how this roster has been built for the long term. and the amount of money they've invested into it, while also being high on their upside this particular season in terms of just the straight up talent they have acquired and what they could be in the East. So let's start positive. Scotty Barnes is really good. And you alluded to it earlier, and it's funny. I love when you say things that I wrote down in my notes recently. I watched the game against the Cavs just the other day, and I love him in this role, this off the ball disruption role. I think he might be all defense in this role, is what I wrote down. Now, I haven't completely workshopped it. I haven't done it. He may not be. He's averaging 3.3 stocks per game. I don't necessarily love him as this point of attack defender, lock you down, especially against certain matchups. But if you can put him as this off the ball, low man rotator, get in passing lanes, and just be disruptive, I think he is absolutely awesome. He's making threes right now. Like you talked about Okongwu, Scotty Barnes is 41% on just under 4 attempts per game, averaging almost 8 rebounds. I think he's been really good. For me, I still don't know that he's the best player on your team level, at least yet, in the way that some other guys have shown, but he is awesome. And I think if you put the right roster around him, I think he's the second best player on a team that's competing at the highest level. So I want to start with Barnes. I love Jamal Shed. I love Mamukelashvili. I think he has been awesome for them as well with what he does offensively. And at the end of the day, Sam, this Raptors team is 8th in the NBA in net rating with a record of 8-5. So I wanted to start with all the positives. I have some negatives I'll get to as well, but want to get your thoughts first on the positives and the things we understand about this team.
Yeah, so the Raptors are 7-8 or 7-1 in their last 8.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
7 of 8.
Yes. Okay.
No, they've won 7 of 8 games.
There we go. Okay.
Early on in that stretch, they beat the Cavs on Halloween, right? That was a Cavs team that only had Evan Mobley that game. I do want to bring up, like, no Garland, no Mitchell, no Jared Allen in that game. Worth noting. They beat the Grizzlies, really bad Grizzlies team. They beat the Bucks. That was a Bucks team that had everybody that night. They beat the Hawks. That was early, like, without Trae Young Hawks, but we just waxed poetically about how interested I am in that team. Lose to the Sixers, and then beat the Nets, beat the Cavs again on Thursday, like you mentioned, and that was a Cavs team that had, I believe, all of their guys except Garland, correct? And then they beat the Pacers on Saturday night, right? So a good blend of, like, taking care of business against bad teams while also being able to contend against good teams, in my opinion, in that run, and beat good teams in that run as well. I'm so glad you brought up Jamal Shed. I mentioned Barnes earlier, and we'll talk about Barnes in a second, but I mean, the Jamal Shed experience has been so great this year. He is so useful in this run, this 8-game run. He has been a positive in 6 of the 8 games. And we're not just talking like a positive. He was a plus 10 in the game against Cleveland, a game that they won by 11. He was a plus 7 in the game against Memphis, the game they won by 13. He's a plus 17 against Milwaukee in a game they won by 28. A plus 7 against Atlanta in a game they won by 12. Minus 9 against Philly in a game they lost. Minus 4 against Brooklyn. And then plus 15 in a game they won by 13 against Cleveland, and plus 17 in a game they won by 18 against Indiana. Basically, like, Jamal Shed is playing a huge role with his defensive energy and ability to, like, pick up full court and frustrate opponents and also really move the ball at a high level. Yes. I think that that's where the game has taken a big leap for him this year. He is passing it at a really high level. He has a 5-to-1 assist turnover ratio in these 8 games. He's also shooting 46, 44, 86 in these games and averaging 7 points a game. We will see if that holds, right? Like, the scoring is always the question with Jamal, but the defense and the passing, I think those two things are real. This is why I had a first-round grade on Jamal Shed coming in to his draft class last year. He has been awesome for them. And frankly, I think he has been their best point guard this year, even though quickly has gotten way better over the course of this run as well. early in the season, Quickly was really, really struggling. If you look at Quickly's last 6 games, 19 points, 6 assists, shooting 52, 46, 77. Quickly picking it up has been massive for this team because it means that they don't have a guy that is taking 12, 13 shots a game that is making them at like a 30% clip like he was earlier this year. But we didn't expect that to hold either. Pirtle has been way better than he was earlier on since he has come back as well. Yeah, I mean, look, but to me, like Barnes is the one on both ends that's really driving this. His ability to get them up tempo, get them playing at pace by forcing turnovers, leading that up tempo play because he can grab and go. The ability to make high level passing reads at such a real clip. Barnes has been like the driver to me of this so far, and it's really funny. We're coming off a preseason. And frankly, like first couple games of the year where it seemed like it wasn't going super well with Scotty and he was trying to find his spot on this group. Like we talked about that after their first couple of games, but he has found it. Like they have figured out how to utilize him and weaponize him in fun ways. And he's been great. Again, like this is a guy that probably an all-star in the East right now, I would argue. In fact, I would almost say like definitely an all-star in the East. It has been very, very good.
I think I would agree. Again, I haven't gotten through it. I don't always love making those statements. And then people are like, you're going to have him over these 12 guys or however the heck it works this year. Okay, so here's my confusion, Sam. All of these positives, and rightfully so. Sam, do you know what the net rating is of the 4-player lineup of Ingram, Barrett, Quickly, and Scotty Barnes?
I would guess it's probably negative. To be
negative 3.5. What about the 4-player lineup of Ingram, Pirtle, Quickly, and Barnes? Negative 3.9. What about the 4-player lineup of Ingram, Pirtle, Barrett, and Barnes? Negative 7.6. I don't know what to make of the fact that all of their best lineups. So I did their 3-player lineups, minimum of 50 minutes played together. All of the best net ratings have one of Grady Dick, Mamu, Jamal Shed. Literally, Sam, they're all littered with those guys. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great podcasting. 8, 9, 10.
Well, do you know what the net rating of the Sandro, Jamal Shed, Grady Dick trio is this year?
So I didn't see that one just in and of itself. Just those 3 guys. What is it?
64 minutes. So a game and a half worth of sample. So don't go crazy. 23.8.
Yeah.
They have a 23.8 net rating with those 3. And when those 3 play together, I feel that. Like that trio has been amazing off the bench for them so far this year. Like Grady Dick is averaging 7.5 points a game, but I don't know, man. I feel like he gets guarded. I feel like when, it's him and Sandro's obviously out there. You mentioned him earlier this year. He's averaging 10 points a game.
Very skilled.
Shooting 60, 45, 80, but very skilled. Perfect partner for, Murray Boyles, perfect partner for Jamal Shed out there as non-shooters, basically. It's really big. Like having the spacing of those guys mixed with, what the defensive destruction can be against bench units, especially non-starter units. This is kind of what I was getting at with Jamal Shed with his plus minuses. Their bench units are just obliterating everybody right now.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to, I guess that's where my thing is. People are going to yell at us because we questioned the fit of this starting lineup of these guys. And even while giving Scotty all of this love and this team all of this love, it seems like a lot of the true success right now is coming from the bench. Yeah, they have the second best bench net rating in the NBA behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City's 1, Toronto's 2, then the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Heat. That tracks to me because, so then that's the other part that I don't want to say I have a gripe with, but Mamu's at 18, Shed's under 18. Grady Dick, for everything you just said, 16.5. Ochai's at 14. Jacoby Walters under 12. Jamison Battle is under 8 minutes a game. I just find myself watching every one of these games, and I want more of those guys, of especially that young group, but maybe this is the perfect role for them and they're doing it exactly right.
Yeah, like this is where it gets hard because these guys are coming in. Like, yes, they play against some starters. Like, I don't want to sit here and say that, but like, if you look at the opposition lineup quality that they're playing versus the opposition lineup quality that the starters are playing, it is different. You know what I mean? But I think that the big key is that this bench unit particularly is built to obliterate other bench units because of how good they are on defense and because of their spacing that they can maintain with Sandro, particularly. Like, even just the Jamal Shed Sandro combo so far, 114 minutes. So, like, 3 games worth of sample now, basically. Plus 20.7 net rating. Like, they are destroying teams between those two.
So I agree, but I guess my thing is, if they're that good, which sounds like they are, like, is there not a few more minutes there for them? Like, can we test it out a little bit more and see what it looks like? Especially whenever our starters have a negative. I guess it's working. The response is we're 8-5. Why would we change it?
And they've won 7 of 8, particularly, is why you wouldn't change it.
Okay.
If they run into, but again, like, the schedule at some point is going to pick up again. Like, yes, they have Charlotte on Monday. They have the 76ers on the road on Wednesday. They have the Wizards on Friday. They have the Nets on Sunday. Then they have the Cavs, Pacers, Hornets. Like, this isn't getting much harder for them anytime soon. I would expect that they end up getting out to like 14-7, to be honest, like something like that, 13-7. And then you look at it, it's on the road against the Knicks, Portland, Lakers, then you have Charlotte, Boston on the road against the Bucks, Boston, Brooklyn, Miami, and the Wizards, and then Golden State, right? So, like, December gets harder for them. It's not like there aren't, games where they can pick up wins, but December gets harder for them than what it has been in these 8 games, at least. And I'm intrigued to see how they adjust to that, change in opponent quality, right? Because, they lost by 18 to the Spurs. They lost by 18 to the Rockets. And they lost earlier this year to the Bucks as well. They also lost that weird game to Dallas where I don't really know what to make of that yet. But, and look, I don't want to sit here and say they haven't beaten teams either. Like, they've beaten the Cavs twice, which is really good. But, we're going to learn more about this team and how real they are in the East. Again, I had them in the playoffs to start the year, like, not the play-in. I had them in the playoffs. I still feel that way. Like, I still think that they probably end up in that ballpark.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm actually very positive. I enjoy watching them. Scotty's been awesome. I love the bench mob. I even, like, we haven't talked a lot about Ingram and the other guys and whatever. I think I saw a stat the other day. They lead the NBA in fast break points. I think Quickly drives a lot of that with what he does in transition, his speed and his 3-point shooting in transition. It's just, you look at some of the net rating stuff and it makes me just, okay, what does this mean? And so I thought they were worth talking about.
The starters have not been great together yet. I do think that is a real thing that is accurate to say. And there are real fit worries there with the starters. And I will be interested to see if that continues, first and foremost, when they play good teams, and B, if they decide to do something at the deadline, because they just have a roster that is made to, like, consolidate on some level, but also do so while maintaining the strength of their bench mob, which has been incredibly fun and useful.
Yeah. Nope. I agree.
So, yeah, no, I've loved this Raptors team, to be clear. Like, they deserve a lot of love. They deserve a lot of, like, mention, in my opinion, particularly. The combo of, like, Pirtle and Mamu right now is a really good center combo league wide that I don't know if enough people recognize. Look, it's not like it's freaking Nikola Jokic or anything, but that duo of having, like, Pirtle's screen setting and his, solid play on defense and ability to protect the rim, and then you have Mamu's, like, skill level. It's a really great complement to one another. It gives them different ways that they can attack different teams. And, we haven't even really brought up Brandon Ingram yet either, is the funny thing in this conversation. And, Ingram has been fine. to this point. Like,
Sure.
he has been totally okay to me. When he's been out there, he's been doing what is expected in terms of like eating up usage and creating shots. They win his minutes when he's on the court, just barely, but they do win them. They win his minutes when he's off the court by 14 points per 100 possessions. But I think some of that is noisy, if I'm being honest. Like, I think some of that is like the bench units and some of the bad teams. And
well, he's just been unreal from the mid range. He's 45 of 80, which is 56% on 2-point dribble jumpers this year. He's knocking them down right now.
Yeah. And opponent 3-point percentage when he's off the court is 26% right now. That's why you see the difference in terms of like why they're way better when he's off the court. As long as they're winning his minutes, I think it's fine, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Listen, like, I am very excited about this team in terms of I still don't think that starting lineup makes a ton of sense together in terms of the highest of outcomes. If they made a consolidation trade around maximizing Scotty Barnes and that starting lineup, well, like you said, keeping this bench mob that is really fun and really exciting and really good, I would be really intrigued by this team and what they could do, either whether that happens this year or in the offseason or whenever they decide to go down that road.
Bryce, that's all we got on takeaways. This is a fun. I like this format for the Sunday show. Like, we will do awards, but I like this format.
I thought about this the other day because I was like, this is new to us. This isn't how we've done it in the past, where it was very specifically, Bryce, you bring your 3 takeaways, I'll bring mine. We don't even really tell each other. And then we just talk about it. It's been good because it allows you to talk about the guys, the teams you want to talk about, and it allows me to do so. And then we give our differing opinions. And I think it's been really, really good. I agree. I was thinking about that the other day, just kind of self-reflecting.
Shout out in the comments over on YouTube. If you enjoy this format, please let us know what you're thinking. We will be back tomorrow with the draft show that we're going to record here. Excited to talk about Michael Brown, about the Braden Smith, LeBaron Philon game. We'll talk about AJ DeBanza against UConn, certainly. Some time on Michigan, I think we'll spend as well. Excited to kind of jump into some draft stuff that has occurred, but you know, that's where this thing sits. And Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work and tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky. Got the Motor City Hoops Substack. The Pistons getting a lot of attention right now, being the hottest team in the NBA at time of this recording, setting 11-2 and 9 straight wins. So if your favorite team plays Detroit, you can go over and read my game notes on that game. I have end of game notes, Pistons notes, the opponent notes, the Pistons Pulse podcast, obviously the Game Theory Substack where I'm doing video breakdowns whenever I get a chance. I got Thanksgiving week coming up, not this week, but next week, where hopefully I'll be able to do a few more because I'll be off from school. And then, of course, the Game Theory podcast right here with Sam Vecenie, on our way to 100,000 YouTube subscribers, which is just insane to even say.
We would love to get to 100,000 by the end of the year. I think it's probably pretty aggressive. We're at 82.7 thousand right now. We appreciate every single one of you that has subscribed to this show. Thank you so much for doing that and for hanging out with us. We will be back on Tuesday with the draft show. Go to The Athletic, keep me employed. I will have something on Champions Classic on Wednesday after that happens on Tuesday. We will have different things that go up at some point, and I am really excited to kind of talk through everything that happens there. We will be back in a couple of days. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.